was under Dr. Malik's care, I did sit in on a meeting with the family, and it was clear to me at that time that she met the correct criteria, she needed to be in the hospital. So I'm puzzled as to, we're talking about two Baker Acts, but to me it was one Baker Act interrupted by transfer from the psychiatric unit to the jail. The thing about beating on her stomach, I felt that was a psychiatric symptom more than a criminal.
Well, I just asked if you were aware that that was the reason why she was there.
Okay, I was not aware of that.
Okay. Now, you're responsible for evaluating her for the Baker Act purposes, is that correct? Whether or not she's a harm to herself or others, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you indicated that you haven't got a diagnosis with certainty, correct?
That's correct.
Well, but you've had a chance to see her 6 or 7 times, correct?
Correct.
Have you ever been refused the opportunity to see her?
No, sir.
And the fact that the only request I'm aware of that was denied was to allow her outside in the courtyard area, in an open air area, correct?
I've never been refused access to see.
And isn't it true that the only issue is that with Miss Wilkerson that she does not want to speak to you or say certain things in front of the corrections officers? It's her choice not to say things in front of the corrections officers, correct?
It is, yes.
May I have a moment, Your Honor? I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Purdy or Mr. Dyer, anything else?
Yes, redirect, Your Honor. Doctor, are you aware of the fact that at the time that she was held and is alleged to have beat on her stomach, she was being held in seclusion, naked in a cell?
That was my understanding. When I saw her in the emergency room, she was not at all violent in any way.
And they had taken away her clothes?
I was told that. I wasn't there.
They took away her blanket?
Objection asked and answered, Your Honor.
What happens when you put somebody with a mental condition in a room naked with no clothes, no blanket, 72 degrees in a concrete cell with a small window and 2 people looking at you?
I can only speculate.
And I object to speculation, Your Honor.
Thank you. In your experience, doctor, do you see such situations where people are pounding their heads against the wall?
And I'm going to object relevance, Your Honor.
Are you familiar, doctor?
Mr. Dyer, rule. Okay, the
Yes.
objection to relevance is overruled.
Doctor, are you
I believe Ms. Wilkerson can be helped. I believe that she needs to be in a psychiatric unit treated like any other psychiatric patient so we can perform a good evaluation and treatment.
And doctor, when you're treating her in the psychiatric wing, do you ever take your patient's clothes and blankets and everything else away from them to assist in your treatment?
If people are imminently suicidal or dangerous, we do whatever precautions we feel are appropriate, such to make sure that they have safe clothing and whatnot.
And have you ever seen or believed that Miss Wilkerson was suicidal?
No, sir.
No further questions.
State and
No reason, Your Honor.
All right, sir, thank you. You can step down.
Judge, our next witness will be contacted by telephone.
Okay. Here, I'll let you come over and
Ms. Moore, do you have
Previously,
a-
I provided the numbers to one of the deputies, Brian.
Dr. Carpenter? Hello? Dr. Carpenter? Hey. Hi, this is Julie Morris at PD's office. You're on microphone right now. We have you,
Can't hear her.
Okay, Dr. Carpenter? Yes. Okay. Is Kevin Baum there with you?
Kevin's right here.
He's right there, okay. He is there and he is prepared to administer those.
Okay. Dr. Carbino, I need to make sure that you speak up so that all the parties can hear, okay? Either side can come up closer if they need to in order to hear. All right, Dr. Carbino, raise your right hand, please.
Yes, I do.
All right. And the investigator can go ahead and swear the person in.
Yes, ma'am. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And Dr. Carbiner, this is Julie Morris. I'm speaking to you from the court microphone. Can you hear me okay on this?
Yes, I can.
Okay, if you would, please state and spell your last name.
Carpenter.
Okay, and your full name is Pamela, Dr. Pamela Carbiner?
Pamela Carpenter.
Okay, Dr. Carbiner, where are you employed?
Halifax Public Human Nutrition.
And what is your position there?
I am a physician, owner of a practice.
Have you ever had the opportunity to treat Ebony Wilkerson?
I have.
And how far along is Ebony in her pregnancy?
She is 28 and a half weeks, estimated gestational age at this time.
What type of prenatal treatment does a woman who's 28 weeks along need?
Routinely, they're seen either once a week or every other week for checking fetal heartbeat, weight, blood pressure, assessment to rule out preterm labor, other complications of pregnancy.
If you would, please tell the court a little bit about Ebony's pregnancy specifically.
Ebony has some risk factors. She has a bicornuate uterus, which puts her at increased risk for preterm labor and potentially preterm delivery. She has a history of Crohn's disease, which can either get better or worse in pregnancy, but causes severe abdominal pain and can be confused with labor. She has had a history of anemia in the past, taking iron injections, although her blood count at this time was very good. She is Rh negative, which means that she has to receive RhoGAM around the 28th week of each pregnancy. And I'm needing to get records from Myrtle Beach because she states that she was given RhoGAM at the beginning of March because of a physical trauma she described at the time. And I need to know if I'm supposed to give her RhoGAM now or not, so I'm waiting for those records.
Okay. So you would not classify your pregnancy as a low-risk pregnancy?
I do not think this pregnancy is low risk. No, I don't.
Whenever you went to treat Ebony, where did you go?
In Halifax Hospital, down in the psychiatric unit, I can go down there and see her at any time. I visited her yesterday, and she was describing that she was not having good fetal movement, which was of concern. So I just took her right up from labor delivery and had a NST done, which was reassuring, so that the baby was okay, and she was returned back to the psych ward without any real problem.
Whenever you went to visit Ebony when she was kept at Halifax, prior to being in the prenatal unit, were there any restrictions on Ebony that you noticed?
Would you ask that question again?
Sure. Whenever you went to see Ebony in Halifax, were there any restrictions on her movement or what she could do that you witnessed?
She is in a small room that does not have a window that you can look out of. It's facing the nurse's station. The door is open. She has two corrections officers outside the door. And there's really not, to my knowledge, any ability for her to walk around, get any exercise. My understanding is she's not allowed to have any reading material or anything that distracts her from her current situation, which is worrisome to me because I don't think anybody, let alone a woman who's anticipating a baby, should be under that kind of isolation or stress.
Specifically, what impact would solitary confinement or her inability to move around in a pregnant person, is that more likely to cause blood clots?
Well, yeah, that is my notes, I believe. She is at risk for DPT if she is kept at bed rest or in not enough activity. Being pregnant is what we call a thrombogenic state. And if we have women who are restricted from motion, we usually want to put stockings on them that blow up and down to reduce the risk of a blood clot in the leg or the lung. So it is something that we are concerned about when a young woman who is pregnant is restricted from normal physical activity.
And how can the restrictions, just in terms of, having the guards or not being able to walk around, how could these restrictions impact your ability to treat Ebony?
Well, I would like to see her have time where she could have exercise on a daily basis so that we reduce the risk of developing blood clot in the leg or lung. Does that answer your question?
Well, I guess so, sort of. Have you ever had the opportunity to treat a pregnant woman at a jail or prison?
Yes, I have. We have a good relationship with Prison Health Services, and my practice does treat women who have come over from the jail during their pregnancies.
What is the difference between treating Ebony at the jail and treating Ebony at Halifax?
Significant difference because it's hard for the jail personnel, women who work in the clinic there, to know the issues of pregnancy. What is a normal complaint and discomfort versus what is an imminently dangerous situation. And then once they do the assessment, then they have to call my office. They have to get transportation. Sometimes it takes a while to get the transportation. The patient is brought here. They're brought here in a jumpsuit, and they are they have handcuffs on. They have to come in through the back door. It takes a lot of time for everybody involved, and it's not as timely as when they are over at Halifax, say, in the 27 ward, where if I'm needed, I can be there in 10 minutes. I can begin treatment immediately, or I can simply reassure. I've taken care of patients for 20 years in both places, and my preference is absolutely to be on the campus of Halifax Hospital.
Was there previously an incident with Ebony where she needed your help? An incident where I guess maybe she was transferred to the prenatal unit?
Well, I mentioned that earlier. I said that yesterday I saw her, and she is 28 weeks. She should be feeling her baby on a day-to-day basis. She's been pregnant before. She knows what that feels like. And she was very concerned that she was not feeling the baby at all. That is something that we want to bring somebody quickly, the same day, to the labor and delivery unit and do a fetal monitoring strip of the baby's heart rate. Because she was simply a couple of floors below the labor and delivery, she was able to be taken upstairs by the corrections officers, had the NSP, be reassured that the baby was okay, and then brought her back down to her room so that this was addressed very expediently.
From an OBGYN perspective, what are your recommendations regarding Ebony's release to Halifax?
I think that would better serve her both for her psychiatric issues that are being addressed by Dr. Moore and for her obstetrical issues that are being addressed by me.
Okay, I don't have any more questions.
All right, Dr. Demeter, hold on one second. The state's going to ask some questions now.
Sure.
Good afternoon, Doctor. This is Kevin Sullivan with the State Attorney's Office. Can you hear me?
I can't, sir.
Just to quickly go over this, you said she has Crohn's disease. Is that correct? She's and you named some factors that you believe she's at risk for possibly a preterm delivery.
Well, she has bipolar uterus, by her personal history. I have not yet gotten the records from South Carolina obstetrician who she was seeing for the first half of her pregnancy, for those of you couples. If she has bipolar uterus, which I have no reason to believe she does not, that does put her at risk for preterm. preterm delivery.
Okay, you said she might be in need of an occasional iron shot.
Right now, her blood count is low. Her iron level is very, very low, so she doesn't have any stores. And if she were to start showing a decrease in her hemoglobin, then she would need an iron infusion, but she does not need one now.
How can you tell if she's low on iron?
You do a blood test of the ferritin level, which we did over the weekend, and we ideally like it to be, 50 to 100, hers is 11.
Do you know whether or not well, that happened at Halifax, right? I mean, you were able to do that.
Yeah, we did that over the weekend.
Okay. To the extent it might have to happen at the jail medical facility, do you know whether or not they're capable of taking a blood test and doing that type of analysis?
I presume that they are.
And forgive me, I don't know what ROGAM or ROGRAM is. Can you explain that, please?
If a woman has Rh negative blood, that means that her blood cells are missing a common protein most people's blood cells have. If the baby has that protein on its red blood cell, and then baby blood cells get into the mom's circulation, the mom's circulation and immune system will recognize that baby's blood cells as foreign and build up antibodies to attack them. To prevent that, we give something called ROGAM, a shot at 28 weeks, and another shot after birth if indeed the baby truly is Rh positive. Typically, the shots are at 28 weeks and after birth. The situation is a little complicated with Ebony because she's already had 2 shots of ROGAM by her history because she states there's been 2 incidences of trauma. The most recent one, she said that she was assaulted by her husband, what she told me, at Myrtle Beach in a hotel. She went to a healthcare center there, they documented her injuries, and gave her a dose of ROGAM. She said this was the first weekend in March, which means that ROGAM would still be in place for now, and she would not need the shot. I need to verify that so that we don't give her something she doesn't need, but that we also don't miss something that she does.
How do you verify that?
Well, I'm crunching the records from Myrtle Beach. I've requested those, but also we've ordered what's called a type of screen to look if there's any passive antibodies still circulating. If there's passive antibodies still circulating, we do not need to give her any because she already got it a month ago.
So you're already doing an analysis of her blood now based on that concern?
Yes, I asked for the test and it's not back yet to my knowledge. I haven't checked since about 10 a.m. this morning.
When do you expect those results?
I would expect in the next day.
And if she does need that, that pharmaceutical, can you deliver that at your facility?
We give ROGAM on an outpatient basis at the hospital all the time, or on an inpatient basis where the patient is hospitalized during the appropriate time frame.
And forgive me again, I didn't know if you said it was a shot, or how is that administered?
It's a shot.
Okay. So you can find out pretty quickly if she needs a shot of ROGAM,
Yes,
and you can give it to her if she needs it.
yes.
You mentioned that you had to take her up to the labor and delivery for some examination.
I'm sorry, would you say that?
You said you had to recently take her to the labor and delivery department in Halifax for some type of examination.
Yesterday morning, I requested that go to labor and delivery for what's called a non-stress test. A 20-minute strip monitoring the fetal heart rate to make sure there isn't anything that is compromised the baby. When women perceive a decrease in fetal fluid, standard of care is to get them an NSP that day, that morning or afternoon that they are evaluated. And she was able to get, I ordered that morning in the hospital, which is much more timely than having to bring her from somewhere else.
Certainly. I mean, and I'm not trying to downplay any concerns for the unborn child, but say somebody's just out in the community and they have this concern, would that require an ambulance transport to the hospital?
We require an ambulance. If they're in our office, they say they have your pre-fluid, we can do it in our office. We have the machine here. Or, if there's no capability for an NSP in the office, the patient can drive over to the hospital and have it done.
Is that something that just is a complaint, as a concern of the expectant mother, or is it something that's an acute situation?
We don't know until we do the NSP. That's why we do it.
Okay. Did the guards in any way from the jail interfere with your ability to do that analysis?
No.
Do you know whether or not Ms. Wilkerson has the opportunity by way of her, I guess, psychological issues that may be or not be pending, that she has the ability to speak to counselors both privately in a one-on-one session or in a group session if she wishes to do so, participate in that?
That's not my skill set or area of expertise, but has an opportunity caring for women with mental health issues. It seems that she is better served having her mental health issues addressed in a mental health environment. Otherwise, I feel she's just being warehoused while she's waiting for whatever will happen next. It seems that she could be better served getting that kind of care in the psychiatric ward than having to travel back and forth several times a week to do that from the jail.
Do you know where she is right now?
I do not know where she is right now. I haven't seen her today.
Well, I mean, not at this moment, but where she's currently being detained.
I saw her yesterday at Halifax Hospital.
Is your perception that she's back at the jail now?
No,
Okay.
I think she's still at Halifax Hospital waiting, but I have not seen her today, so I do not know where she is physically at this moment.
No, sorry, that really wasn't my question. Currently, she's at Halifax in the psych ward, and you've been able to take her to the medical part of the facility, correct?
That is the reason I think that it's good for her to be at Halifax Hospital, because in the psychiatric ward, which is just a couple floors below the labor and delivery, if we need labor and delivery services, it's an elevator. And that to me is a very comforting thing for a patient who has high-risk issues, pregnant, and needs these facilities in an imminent fashion.
Now, do you consider her a high-risk pregnancy?
I think she has significant high-risk issues. I hate the designations of low versus high because a low pregnancy can suddenly turn into a high-risk pregnancy in 5 minutes. And we don't like to use those terms to give people either a false sense of security or a overblown sense of danger. We evaluate each pregnancy, evaluate their high-risk indications, and then do our best to minimize it. I think the best way to minimize her risk is to have her close to the labor and delivery.
These different things, the concerns that you have as a doctor, don't people in the general community, people that are, the women that are pregnant have those same issues and they're out working and doing different things?
Yeah, they do. But they're able to use their own cars to get to me or the hospital in a very timely fashion. So I see that patients who have these kind of high-risk issues do not necessarily have to be hospitalized, although some do. She does not have the type of high-risk issues where she needs to be on the antepartum floor because of a placenta previa or something like that. But when people have these issues and they have control of their situation, we trust them to see us and to get to the hospital in a timely fashion. But there's risk in anything.
Are you aware of the last time that she was brought to Halifax, how she got there?
Came on March 3rd. I do not know how she got there.
She was brought a little bit later than that, and she came by ambulance. Would you agree that an ambulance might be a good way to get to the hospital if you're having a medical situation occur?
Yes.
And those ambulances usually have paramedics or other medical, maybe first responder type medical people there.
Yeah, but they are not quite as adept at obstetrical issues as people in the hospital. Neither are these very nice women and men that run the clinic over there adept at obstetrical. This is a unique specialty of medicine where very, very few people, even in hospital emergencies, are as adept at caring for these issues as people in the labor and delivery areas themselves. That's why we have a labor and delivery emergency room, an obstetrical ED at Halifax. Because we acknowledge even our own ED doesn't have always the skill sets for this particular population. So no, it doesn't really reassure me that there's ambulance available and that a paramedic can take us from the one place to another. Particularly there was an issue of that greatness.
Doctor, thank you. I have no further questions.
Ma'am, do you have any more questions?
Yes, just a few. Hi, Dr. Carbiner, Julie Morris again. Just a few follow-up questions. If you were going to see someone at the jail, how long would it take you to get clearance in order to be able to see them?
jail does bring patients to my office. And they're very pleasant when they bring them here. It's working well. But we all acknowledge that there's inherent delays in that.
There's delays that could be detrimental to someone if they're experiencing difficulties in their pregnancy, right?
Most of the time, the delay is not going to be a problem. But there can be times where delays could be a problem.
Right. Now, the ward that we're talking about, where you've actually been to see Ebony, what you described with the room with no window, that ward, is it a secure facility?
It is a secure facility.
Okay, even without the 2 corrections officers that are currently there now, it still would be a secure facility that she would be unable to leave?
There are 2 doors that require a lock to be opened, and I have to be escorted to be able to, and that's to get to the nurse's station, and then introduce myself to the corrections officers and then go in.
Are you aware of any other treatment that Ebony has received since she's been in there? Are you aware of whether she's had any?
After she had a cardiology consult, because she has described that she had some cardiac issues in her previous pregnancies.
So that would be something that it would benefit her to have a cardiologist closer as well.
If she was my patient coming to my office on a regular basis, I would order that also.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you so much, Dr. Carbiner.
Thank you. May I hang up?
No, hold on one second.
Nothing further.
All right, yes, Dr. Carbina, thank you.
If you decided that to let her out of there, the bond would kick back in, and then we could have a bond hearing. And I will get you the law on that.
And let me ask you this, the unit where she's being housed now, why is she there versus the other unit? Simply because she's in custody, that's where the
Exactly.
the inmates are?
Exactly.
Okay, all right. Mr. Lorenzo?
Your Honor, we've prepared to provide testimony to this effect, but there's been requests to have her participate in the group sessions, and it's been granted. The issue is that because she's in jail, because she's got a bond, but she's in custody, that the corrections officers are required to have visual sight on her. Now, there's times when they have allowed to see her through a window so that she has more privacy and more confidentiality. But the bottom line is the only restriction I'm aware of she's ever had was when they asked if she could go outside. And that's where the corrections folks said, we have to draw the line there because, I mean, with all due respect to Mr. Purdy and to, the issues, we're sensitive about Ms. Wilkerson being pregnant. She's charged with some serious crimes. We're extremely concerned about the welfare of the unborn child. I mean, this child doesn't have the option of being in foster care. She's carrying this child in the womb. There were issues that brought her back over to the hospital involving the pregnancy and her allegedly striking herself in the belly. We can't ignore the facts. The judge, I'd ask you to take judicial notice of the 707. I mean, you look at the circumstances surrounding this, the vehicle driving into the surf, the way the mother acted during that escapade. We've got eyewitnesses that have provided testimony in the form of statements about what they observed at the time they drove up on and were rescuing the children from this vehicle. And without going into every specific episode, because it takes me a few minutes to do it, I'm concerned about it.
Okay, and what I want to do is this was supposed to end at 1:45, but because of transportation issues, I said we could go till 2.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
I've got a jury waiting out
Yes,
there that we're in the middle of jury selection, so I'm not going to make a ruling. I'm going to give the defense time to give me authority or case law on what they are asking me to do as far as not touch the bond but move her, and then I'll be happy to hear any more witnesses or argument from both sides. What I'm going to do, if it's good with both of your calendars, I'm going to set this for next Tuesday, the 25th, at 11 o'clock. and I'm prepared to go till 1:30. So you'll have 2.5 hours to bring in witnesses. We'll work through lunch if we need to. Is that good? I can't do it any earlier because we'll be in the middle of a trial.
That's fine with me, Your Honor.
Is that okay with you, Mr. Purdy?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, so that is Tuesday, the 25th at 11 o'clock. It'll be the continuation of the defense's motion. Can we address real quickly the motion to preserve evidence that the defense filed? My JA told me the state stipulated to that.
Your Honor, I talked to Mr. Purdy. The evidence is secured. I mean, I told Mr. Purdy that it's being housed by the Volusia County Sheriff's Office in one of their secure facilities. There's been the contents of the vehicle and the vehicle itself not going anywhere, and access to that vehicle and the contents is restricted. There's nobody going in and out checking. I think Mr. Purdy was concerned about potentially the father of the children having access. That's just not the case. It is secure, and I believe I've represented that to him adequately.
Yeah, Judge, we accept the representations of the state on that. We would like to have access to it, and that's, I believe, part of the motion also. We'd like to have access.
That goes without saying that the defense gets access to the evidence, and Mr. Marizza has
We'll work that out.
stated that nobody else is getting access to the evidence. So I don't have to sign this order, correct?
Okay, that's fine, Judge.
Okay.
And Judge, I do have some letters from family members that I would like to present to the court also that they have given a copy. I have taken off any reference to any addresses and phone numbers. Is there anything in the court copy since it's going in the court
Okay, and
file?
I'll read those prior to our hearing on the 25th.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay?
Thank you, Judge.
All right,
Thank you, Your Honor.
You already addressed.
Heading to town, I see that. Yeah, we're hoping to make it work. I will swing, I'll be there until Thursday.
Can you make sure that,
Yes, sir. Same to you. Thank you.